The radar screen flickers. A contact appears where no contact should be. A pilot's voice tightens as a warning tone cuts through the cockpit. On a darkened bridge, a captain grips the rails, staring at a sea that has not changed in centuries, but tonight feels different. In this moment, history holds its breath. This is not a movie scene. It is a possibility. The South China Sea is one of the most watched bodies of water on Earth. It carries more than a quarter of global maritime trade, energy supplies, food security, national pride, and unresolved claims that overlap like fault lines beneath the waves. Tonight, imagine a single spark, a collision, a missile test gone wrong, a warning shot misunderstood, and imagine that this time no one backs down. What if the South China Sea turned into open war? To understand what that would mean, we need to be clear about the scenario. Not tension, not brinkmanship, not another near miss. Open war means sustained, declared, or de facto military conflict. Naval battles, airstrikes, missile launches, cyber operations, and political decisions that lock nations into a path where reversing course becomes harder with every hour. The main element of change is escalation. A shift from controlled confrontation to uncontrollable momentum. The South China Sea is uniquely dangerous because of density. Commercial ships, fishing fleets, coast guards, naval task forces, submarines, surveillance aircraft, all operating in the same narrow corridors, often within visual range. In open war, those same features become liabilities. Modern naval conflict is not fought ship to ship at close range. It begins far beyond the horizon. Anti-ship missiles launched from land, air, and sea. Hypersonic glide vehicles that compress decision time to minutes. Submarines that never surface. Satellites feeding targeting data in near real time. And electronic warfare that blinds sensors before the first explosion is even seen. The South China Sea would become a layered battle space. Surface, subsurface, air, space, and cyberspace all at once. History gives us clues, not exact predictions but warnings. In 1914, Europe believed war would be short and contained. In 1950, Korea escalated from a border clash into a multinational conflict. In 1964, a single disputed incident transformed limited involvement into full-scale war. In each case, leaders thought they controlled escalation. They did not. The South China Sea today sits at the intersection of multiple security commitments, competing territorial claims, defense treaties, freedom of navigation operations, national narratives that frame retreat as humiliation. In a real war scenario, the first phase would be shock. Missile salvos aimed at air bases and ports, runways cratered, fuel depots burning, command centers forced underground. The goal would be to blind and disorient, not occupy. Commercial shipping would halt almost instantly. Insurance markets would collapse overnight. Ports across Asia would feel the shock within hours. Then comes the air war. Fighter jets pushing the limits of range and endurance. Aerial refueling tankers becoming prime targets. Drones filling the sky, some armed, some watching, some jamming. Airspace would shrink as civilian flights divert or vanish from radar screens. Under the surface, submarines would prowl shipping lanes, not just to sink warships, but to create uncertainty. Every sonar contact becomes a question mark. Every vibration a potential threat. Fishing fleets already caught in political crossfire today would disappear entirely. Not by order, but by fear. For coastal communities, the loss of daily catch would mean immediate hardship. As days turn into weeks, escalation spreads outward. Cyber attacks ripple through financial systems. Ports suffer sudden technical failures. GPS signals degrade, then disappear. Airliners and cargo ships fall back on navigation methods thought obsolete. Energy markets react violently. Oil and gas prices surge. Manufacturing slows as components fail to arrive. Inflation accelerates worldwide. Politically, pressure mounts. Regional governments face impossible choices. Join the fight and risk devastation. Stay neutral and risk isolation. Public opinion hardens as images of damage circulate stripped of context and amplified by fear. Alliances activate. Statements become ultimatums. Ultimatums become deadlines. Deadlines become actions. At sea, losses accumulate. A frigate disabled but not sunk. An aircraft forced to ditch. A submarine lost with all hands. Each incident narrows the space for compromise. And as the conflict stretches beyond the initial shock, a quieter transformation begins. Rules that once governed behavior at sea quietly collapse. Radio warnings are ignored. Close encounters stop being accidents and start becoming tactics. Commanders are no longer trying to signal resolve. They are trying to survive. Escalation control, the invisible guardrail of modern conflict, starts to erode. Every side believes it is acting defensively. Every move is justified as a response. But responses stack. And soon, no one remembers where the line was first crossed. In this environment, miscalculation becomes inevitable. A radar glitch looks like an incoming strike. A cyber intrusion is mistaken for preparation for attack. An exercise launch is interpreted as a first blow. Decision-makers face a brutal reality. They must act on incomplete information or risk being too late. History shows that in moments like this, restraint is rare. As weeks turn into months, the war reshapes the global order quietly, but permanently. Supply chains reroute. New blocks harden. Neutrality becomes suspicion. Even if the guns fall silent, the damage does not reverse. Trust does not reset. Militarization remains. The sea becomes divided not by lines on maps, but by fear. The most dangerous moment was never the first strike. It was the moment everyone realized the momentum could no longer be stopped. A South China Sea war would leave no clear victor. Only altered trade routes, permanent military postures, and a generation shaped by a conflict that began with a single miscalculation. And yet this outcome is not inevitable. Every near miss avoided matters. Every hotline call answered matters. Every restraint exercised matters. Because the South China Sea is not just a body of water. It is a test of whether modern power can coexist with modern restraint. Whether technology that accelerates conflict can be balanced by diplomacy that slows it down. So the real question is not only what would happen if war came, it is whether the systems designed to prevent it are strong enough to hold. Because the next what if may not ask about war at sea. It may ask about the moment the world discovered too late how fragile peace really was. And somewhere far from the bridges and command rooms, ordinary lives would feel the impact first. Higher prices, empty shelves, unanswered questions, proof that a war at sea never stays at sea.